Filling out our number 5 slot, we've got Sirenhead's origins. So where did Sirenhead come from? Well, this towering monstrosity was created by Trevor Henderson, also known as @SlimySwampGhost. He tweeted out an image of the loud speakered Leviathan in 2018, and the rest is history. Henderson is a prolific monster maker and often draws terrifying creatures incorporated into digital photos to evoke a wickedly creepy response. Most of these beings come with a short, spooky story to give some context too. Make sure to check out more of Trevor's work if you're a fan of Sirenhead. Since the original tweet, Sirenhead's mythos has expanded greatly. Artists and enthusiasts everywhere scrambled to find out more about the lanky beast and made sure to provide their own interpretations. Soon enough, official details were released to the public. This is what we know so far. Sirenhead is approximately 40 feet tall, or about the size of a telephone pole. It's covered in what looks like rusted metal, but if you give it a closer look, you'll notice that it's actually dried, mummified skin. This lad needs some lotion. His skin is jerky to the point of looking like scrap metal. Extending out from his torso, Sirenhead's arms are as long as his body, with knuckles almost dragging along the ground. This gives an appearance similar to a gibbon. I can only imagine how far those reach in a chase scenario. Oh boy. There are wires that wrap around its abdomen and chest that writhe around when it's agitated. The iconic loudspeakers on its head are made of metal and therefore are the only metal on Sirenhead's body. They appear to be fused to its flesh and have been depicted as containing a nasty set of teeth and a long tongue. These sirens are able to rotate around, not unlike the head of an owl. There are many theories concerning where Sirenhead came from, but like all good cryptids, it's hard to explain just how it originated on our dear sweet planet Earth. Coming in at number 4, we've got cave paintings. This is, well, not really what anybody expected. Usually when a new monster makes an appearance, it's some relatively new creation, especially when it's 40 feet tall and has what appears to be sirens where its head should be. You take one look at Sirenhead and would probably think that it somehow adapted those sound blasters from human technology. But if we take a look at these ancient cave paintings, it becomes apparent that this is not the case. According to Trevor, there have been depictions of Sirenhead engaging in combat with ancient humans found all over North America. This indicates that Sirenhead is not necessarily the new species we might have thought it was. It also implies that it's either quasi-immortal and has survived for generations, or that there's more than one Sirenhead. Both are terrifying prospects. Now, what we also have to consider when breaking down these cave paintings is the fact that we've only recently come to know of Sirenhead's existence. So how did it stay off the general public's radar for all these years if people have been fighting it since the time of cave drawings? Maybe there's something else going on, something sinister behind the scenes. Worst of all, these cave paintings seem to illustrate that we've never really had a good way to deal with Sirenhead. We as humans are more or less powerless against this mighty, freaky being. So I propose this. We should start a new religious movement worshipping Sirenhead. The Church of the Loud One? Maybe we'll have some mercy rained down upon us. Coming in at number 3, we've got Minecraft Sirenhead. There are only 2 things that are certain in life: death and taxes. But this phrase might need an update because I've noticed a third more recently. If something is popular, it will get put into a million Minecraft YouTube videos. Right now, Sirenhead is that meme and therefore must exist in every possible capacity, Minecraft mods included. There are a few different versions out there right now, but the one I was able to find out a little more about adds Sirenhead among other horror-themed creatures. It adds a feature that spawns Sirenhead from corruption blocks, creating a whole new monster for players to do battle with. It's really big and doesn't seem to move around much. It would be cool if it was lumbering around like the Sirenhead in Whispering Hills, but maybe that'll come soon. One thing it will do is swing its arms wildly if you attack it, and these flailing limbs are quite dangerous. One hit and you're dead, just like real life. This mod is essentially adding a boss mob, augmenting the nightmares of Minecraft players for the next little while. There are even folks who claim to have run into Sirenhead in unmodded versions of the game. They've posted stories on creepypasta wikis about encounters with huge, noisy creatures that cause not only Minecraft to glitch and freeze up, but other programs and apps too. There's no corroborating evidence in these cases, but if they say they saw Sirenhead, who am I to deny them? Coming in at number 2, we've got a multi-headed variant. Recently, Trevor's unveiled a couple more variants on the classic Sirenhead. None are as terrifying as this one though. It appears as though there are many versions of this creature, each with adaptations that make it deadlier. On March 23rd, he tweeted a photo of what appears to be a gigantic humanoid with long arms and bad posture, towering over some houses in a residential development. Attached is a short text snippet, seemingly from a news publication, detailing a terrible tragedy. It starts partway through a sentence. Many missing, but rumors of a significant amount of the population found dead in their homes or the streets nearby, with the corpses having burst eardrums and soft tissues. Now, prior to this image, Sirenhead was known to take down singular people, maybe small groups, but entire neighborhoods? That's intense. This supports the idea that Sirenhead does not kill out of necessity too, if he's leaving all those corpses behind. And if one can walk through a neighborhood and annihilate all sorts of folks through what we can only assume is concentrated sound, who knows what it can do next? If you take a closer look at the image, you might notice something interesting around the head. It has a cluster of sirens up there, different from how it's being depicted in the past. Unsettling, upsetting, unexpected. If you're interested in more sightings, maybe give Trevor a follow to make sure you're up to date. And finally, at number 1, we have 0 F3 Fad-AD4E0F. Golden Lane Studio put this video out a while back. Best known for their Five Nights at Freddy's shorts, they uploaded some animated handheld footage of a person exploring a government-controlled area. Those numbers in the title are likely some sort of coordinates. This kind of footage tends to be bad news for those expecting a pleasant walk in the park. He strolls around, seemingly searching for something in particular. His camera work is shaky and often unfocused, adding to the tension. Their purpose is revealed when they mistake some power lines for Sirenhead and a bit of superimposed text. Speak of the devil, right? Because almost immediately afterwards, a car alarm goes off, prompting the camera person to whip around. It's then that we see a real Sirenhead emerge from the darkness and stride towards the hapless recordist. After a brief chase, they hole up in an abandoned home, listening to the sirens blare outside. Sirenhead can be seen passing by a window just as the camera person thinks that it's safe, and then one of the inner doors creaks open. The camera person heads towards the opening, and something strange is there. But there isn't enough time to find out exactly what, though, as Sirenhead crashes through the wall and the video feed cuts out. Well, there seems to be more Sirenhead sightings cropping up every day. It's only a matter of time before you see one yourself, right? Coming in at number 5, we've got the TikTok sighting. If you've been online over the past week, you've likely seen some iteration of this video. Sure, it's been memed to hell at this point, with all sorts of viral songs being edited over it to make it look like the lanky lad has hit some funky dance moves, but the original is creepy as all get out. Let's take a look at the video posted by TikTok user AlexHoward_. Yeah. Wow. Up until this point, I'd always assumed that Sirenhead was a few dozen feet tall, not a few hundred. But that change in scale really boosts the terror, doesn't it? When Sirenhead is telephone pole height, it's a horror villain that might take out a few loose teens in the forest. When it's Godzilla size, we have an entire disaster movie on our hands. Absolutely bonkers. The way he shifts back and forth with the eerie sound of Chicago tornado sirens pitched down washing over the city makes you feel like the world is really ending. And if you take a look at the comments on the video, some people seem to think it really is. As the Sirenhead lore becomes more and more muddled with popularity, there are a whole lot of folks who see a relatively realistic looking video like this and assume that someone actually captured a video featuring a horrific monster. So somebody go and let them know that it's all gonna be okay. Coming in at number 4, the Sirens. So I mentioned the lovely speakers fused to the tip top of our flesh-covered telephone pole before, and they aren't just for show. There have been reports of the megaphones pumping out odd music and sounds. No discernible pattern has been discovered, and it seems to play all sorts of different genres. These sounds and songs are often distorted and full of static. Imagine how creepy that would be, hiking through the woods in complete silence, and then all of a sudden you hear an old crackling jazz standard. Start dancing now, cause it might be the last chance you get. If Sirenhead is perturbed or senses prey, it will sometimes angrily shout random words and numbers. There's also a loud, shrill noise that might remind someone of an air raid siren. This has an extremely disquieting effect on anyone who hears it. When sleeping, Sirenhead produces constant white noise. It sounds almost peaceful. However, don't be drawn in by its less threatening noises. Just because it's asleep does not mean it's not dangerous. The last, most terrifying thing that Sirenhead will do with its speakers is imitate human speech. Why is that so terrifying? Well, I mean, anything inhuman that mimics us usually ends up at the bottom of the uncanny valley, and hearing human speech come out of something like Sirenhead is pretty uncomfortable. But there's a very specific reason why this copycat is bad news, and we're about to find out. Coming in at number 3, it hunts humans. What else would this malnourished monolith do? It was put on this earth to scare us and then eat us. The perfect creature. No one is quite sure how this process works though, as anyone who's been close enough to get devoured, well, got devoured. Those teeth are probably put to good use though. It's also unclear why Sirenhead consumes Homo sapiens or if it even benefits from the process. Does it require human nutrients to live? Doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe it feeds on fear and then transplants our bodies to another time and space. Either way, you want to avoid this guy in the woods. Sirenhead usually snatches up hikers, campers, and other forest-dwelling folk, although it's not uncommon for people who live in communities near forests to go missing too. He's always around wooded areas. Being as tall and skinny as a telephone pole means Sirenhead can blend in well with trees. It can also stay perfectly still for long periods of time, which is great for camouflage. All of this makes it seem like Sirenhead is already adept at hunting humans, but like I was saying before, it can also imitate human speech. Often it will mimic the voice of a loved one or a person in distress to lure in victims. Aggressive mimicry at its finest. This makes it an extremely dangerous predator, because anyone who doesn't know any better will follow these sounds to their source. Unfortunately, instead of running into their mom or a hiker with a broken leg, they find themselves face to face with a 40-foot fiend. Although many people don't seem to mind that Sirenhead is a dangerous predator, fans will just say it's misunderstood. A friend you haven't met yet. Lots of people even made art and memes portraying Sirenhead as a wholesome forest neighbor, asking to borrow cups of sugar and playing cheerful music. And while this is a fun notion, maybe don't assume the best when you run into this spindly specter. At number 2, we've got scary video games. In addition to all the bone-chilling art featuring Sirenhead, there are also a few video games featuring the Screecher in the dark. And why wouldn't they? Sirenhead is a fantastic antagonist for a horror game. It makes for some fantastic sound cues, creepy atmosphere, and terrifying chase sequences. Plus, how's a human protagonist gonna take it down? A lot of these take cues from the indie survival horror games of the past decade. Often set in a poorly lit location, the main character must find their way to an objective while avoiding the cold embrace of a terrifying monster. One such game is Callum Fraser's Sirenhead. The game has been described as a short and atmospheric retro PlayStation style first-person shooter. Although it's not very long, the game does a fantastic job of instilling fear in the player. The low poly style is gorgeous and adds to the tension. You take on the role of a park ranger looking for a missing hiker, and when you discover the grisly truth, Sirenhead appears. The shambling, swaying Sirenhead screams out random sound bites and siren noises as it chases you through the woods. This is one of the best representations of Sirenhead that I've seen to date. If you're interested in playing this one though, follow the link down below. Sirenhead mods have also been made for open world games like Gmod, Minecraft, and Roblox. They all seem to follow a similar structure, with the telephone terror chasing you through the dark. As the iconic monster reaches a wider audience, I am sure that more terrifying stories will crop up. And finally, our number 1 scariest fact about Sirenhead. There are multiple Sirenheads. Yep. You heard me right. Henderson has hinted in the past that there may be more than one of these terrors stalking through the pine groves at night. In an informational image uploaded to Twitter, Henderson wrote that multiple head configurations have been seen, but it was unknown whether that meant it could alter its appearance or if they were subspecies that existed. So if you thought you were safe, think again. These things could be anywhere. In addition to Henderson's clever little hint, there have been reports of sightings all over North America. It's also possible that they're adapting to hunt more humans. Some say that they have the ability to adapt to urban environments by mimicking lampposts and other structures. Imagine a pack of these things chasing a poor businessman down the street, arms outstretched. Personally, I welcome our new siren overlords. I just hope they play something good before devouring me. Coming in at number 5, we've got Whispering Hills. Hard to imagine a video game scarier than Silent Hill. The atmosphere, the monsters, the fog, it all comes together into a wholly unsettling experience. I know we're all disappointed that PT got shut down and that the more recent Silent Hills haven't quite captured the essence of the originals. However, if you're the kind of person who likes to mod their games, there might be a creepy surprise in store. There's a mod for Fallout 4 called Whispering Hills that tries its best to emulate the vibe of Silent Hill. Everything is enveloped in a layer of impenetrable fog, and ambient sounds are replaced with those from Silent Hill. At first, this mod added a whole new slew of creatures and killers from Silent Hill, from ghouls to monster nurses to the big lad himself, Pyramid Head. Now, you might be saying, Keegan, I thought this video was focusing on Sirenhead, not Pyramid Head, and You're right. I just wanted to set the stage for the lanky monster himself. In Whispering Hills, there have also been sightings of Sirenhead, wailing wanderer lurking through the wastes. He's at his creepiest off in the distance when the sirens are barely visible through the thick fog. You'll definitely hear Sirenhead before you see him too. Emitting all sorts of wails and echoey sound bites, Sirenhead adds to the super creepy ambience. And once you're aware of his presence, everything gets real unnerving. In the end though, Sirenhead might be better as an environmental feature, something off in the distance. It's dangerous for sure, but once you get up close and personal, it seems less scary. The model is excellent, but it moves in a sort of funny way. Attacking and walking looks sort of awkward as Sirenhead swings his lanky arms and legs. Still, if you like Fallout or Silent Hill or Sirenhead, it's worth experiencing. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Graveyard Incident. I believe this is the earliest known sighting of the lad we all know today as Sirenhead. Back during the glory days of Tumblr, Trevor Henderson shared an image of the spindly creature towering over a graveyard atop a hill. It's a clear, sunny day, which doesn't usually make for great horror backdrop. There's a certain grain to the image too, adding to the creepy appeal. The photo's accompanied by some text outlining the origins of the legend. A couple was vacationing and decided to take in some local graveyards. Classic morbid couple activities, right? Well, when they arrived at this particular cemetery, the most notable feature was the large art piece sprouting from the middle. At first, the woman wasn't concerned. Seeing something like that standing in the middle of a field must be an installation of some sort. No sane person would assume it was a creature, but oh boy, that changed quickly. Stepping out of her car, she heard the megaphones on its head turn on immediately and start screeching. 9, 18, 1, child, 17, remove, vile. The short, jarring snippets of radio noise that we've all come to expect at this point. But imagine being the first person to experience this. Jaw-dropping, pants-soiling, scary stuff. Then Sirenhead came to life, walking its terrifying long-legged walk towards their car. The post ends there, leaving what happens next very much so up to your imagination, which in all honesty is a much scarier place to leave readers when coming up with some extra details. So what do you think happened to the woman and her boyfriend? Coming in at number 3, we've got the Pine Ridge Hiking Trail. So I thought this was a strictly fictional location at first, but a cursory Google search shows that the Pine Ridge Hiking Trail is indeed a real place. It's part of the Ganaraska Hiking Trail. All the more Canadian locations to flesh out that Canadian lore. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, the Sirenhead sighting that happened here was purely digital, although who knows? Maybe it was based on a real encounter. One of the first major interactive experiences featuring Sirenhead was a game by Modus Interactive. This PS1 style adventure drops you in the middle of a deep dark wood. The old school textures and sounds really do quite a lot to enhance the eerie atmosphere. As you stroll through the sunset-soaked wilderness, a horrific siren begins to sound. You discover bits and pieces left behind by other unlucky hikers, such as backpacks, pieces of shirts, and more. Large scratch marks point to something sinister lurking in the darkness. The further you walk down the trail, the further the sun sinks below the tree line, and then a terrible discovery is made, and he's there. Sirenhead. The lumbering, lanky lad in all his low poly glory, silhouetted against a scorched sky. And from there, all you can do is run, and run, and run. If you flee, Sirenhead emits all sorts of disquieting noises from static to sirens to radio babble. Make it to your truck and you're home free, for now. Stick around and see what happens, and well, you won't be sticking around long. Sirenhead doesn't like to miss out on meals. Coming in at number 2, we've got Beachfront Chaos. This reminds me of something from a kaiju movie. It's stark and scary and realistic in ways that I don't know if I can fully comprehend. It implies a universe in which monster settings like this are possible, which I love. I want a whole book based on this image, or a movie, or an animated series. Whatever it is, I think this is fantastic. Great work, Anti-Dark Heart. Check her out on Twitter. This is another extremely giant take on Sirenhead, and the way it's set up makes it work so very well. Imagine being one of the 2 people cowering on the beach. The absolute mind-numbing dread that accompanies the sight of a creature like that. The fact that it seems to be rising out of the fog, dwarfing everything in the comprehensible vicinity. The panicked birds who just moments before were resting on what they assumed was a gigantic tree or telephone pole of some sort. And there's nowhere to run. Whether you pick the ocean or the sand, you're out of luck. The perspective also implies some sort of photographer who would then share this image with the world. Do people across the globe panic at the first sight of a new terror? Or is this a well-established creature and everyone but these 2 beachgoers is evacuated? So much is left unexplained, but the mood of the picture says so much. Would you run towards a Sirenhead in this situation, arms wide open, accepting of your fate? Or would you attempt to escape and live to tell the tale? Coming in at number 1, we got the Eastern Europe encounter. For our final sighting, I figured I'd treat you all to a 2-parter. YouTuber Jojo Pastierson has edited 2 clips of her encounters with Sirenhead in Eastern Europe. Wandering around desolate and downtrodden areas, she captures some terrifying sounds coming from the distance. As she parades around, it seems that Sirenhead is getting closer and closer, but it never gets close enough to be of any danger, which is why we're still able to count Jojo as one of the living. There are 2 videos done in this style, each creepy in their own way. One is set during the day, and the other as the sun is falling below the horizon. Either situation would be terrifying, but personally I think daytime Sirenhead is scarier. To see the wrinkles and wires and rusted skin in full detail would be too much for my fragile little brain. Would you be able to keep the camera on and search for Sirenhead, or would you hightail it out of there as soon as possible? Now, most of the sightings, and these 2 included, feature prominent siren noises and static along with some short bursts of words, but Sirenhead's been known to use his sounds to affect people directly, whether through a familiar sound or the voice of a loved one. Thankfully, nobody's caught this on video yet, because I don't think we're ready for that discovery. Suffice it to say, I would never want to encounter Sirenhead out in the wild. I'm perfectly happy looking at images from the safety of my computer and waiting for Trevor to drop more lore bombs in the coming days. And as Sirenhead gets more and more popular over the next little while, I'm sure we'll see plenty more of his megaphone dome. Maybe it'll reach Slenderman level hype, with everyone and their grandma looking for an angle. It'll be interesting to watch unfold.